top. And I think the one guy that's probably going to be beating himself up a little bit post-game will be Draymond. Obviously on both ends, not to his standards, but really defensively didn't get the team connected. And I think that's going to be a long, hard film session. We'll see some adjustments. I mean, Tatum made the adjustment of not making any shots by getting in the lane. 13 assists. You got to give him a lot of credit for having that maturity at such a young age in his first finals appearance. But more credit to his teammates, Horford and White in particular, for making those shots.
When Otto Porter came out and Andre Iguodala, you're thinking the Warriors are almost fully healthy. We didn't see GP2 in this game. But it felt like it was going their way until it wasn't, and then it wasn't like so dramatically. Let's get to our real good play of the day, sponsored by Nom Nom, good food for dogs. And it's the incredible Steph Curry behind the back to lose Jaylen Brown, floating it up and in, and he put some extra on the finish there for emphasis, but I don't think he got the foul call on that play. Curry had a good game. In fact, he came out, hit 6 threes in the first quarter, which is an NBA Finals record. And you thought, well, if Steph is cooking, the Warriors are cooking. You know who was cooking? Biggie the dog.
He put the kibosh on us.
But Biggie was right. He went to the Celtics dish. And we were talking about a replacement dog.
Oh, yeah.
We had a lot of possibilities. A lot of woofing. And we were thinking, well, Biggie, there it is. There's the video evidence.
Oh, man.
And I think it's the glasses. I think he's able to see more clearly than the rest of us. What do you? That's as much analysis as I've got. When you get outscored 40-18 in the fourth, I mean, that's it. We got a lot more to come here. Obviously, we'll talk with some of the Warriors. Whoever comes out, we'll hear from Steve Kerr. We got the podium wired up, but safe to say this was not the outcome we had planned for. 120-108. Celtics take Game 1. Much more to come on Toyota after the game.
Credit, and it's pretty much as simple as that.
Anthony on the left.
Yeah, how challenging did you find it at times offensively to score against them? And I mean, I know going in, you knew how good they were defensively, but what just specifically made it tough tonight?
Well, they've got good size and athleticism, at every position pretty much. So they put a lot of pressure on you, but I thought we had some really good moments. We had 38 in the third quarter. We had a good run there. It was mainly the fourth quarter that got us. So we feel confident with our ability to score against them. But like I said, you give up 40 in the fourth and the other team makes 21 threes. It's going to be tough to win.
Question in the middle here.
Hey, Steve, I want to ask you about the shot disparaging, the shot spread out among the team. Specifically, Jordan Poole only had 7 shots. Do you think you need to do more to get him some open looks, or do you think it's upon him to just be more aggressive?
Yeah, we'll watch the tape and we'll see, what we need to do. I thought Boston did a good job on Jordan, put a lot of pressure on him, and there's probably some things that we can do to help free him up. And then, he's a hell of a player, so he'll bounce back and play better too.
Up front.
Vince Goodwill, Yahoo Sports, right here, Steve. You held Tatum largely in check. I think it was 3 of 17. Was that basically the game plan going in, that you're going to concede Derek White, Al Horford taking those shots, and they just happened to hit him tonight?
Well, you never go in conceding shots. You kind of have a scouting report on each player. You know who you're going to close out hot to, who you're going to close out short to, all that stuff. It felt to me like we didn't close out very well in the first half, and that allowed them to get going a little bit. But again, got to watch the tape and see where the breakdowns occurred.
Barry in the middle.
Hey, Steve. Barry Bloom from Sportico. It's not just your team, but why do you think that there's been such wild disparities of play, not only from game to game in these playoffs, but from quarter to quarter?
I think the three-point shot has a lot to do with that. I mean, you saw, I don't know how many they made in the fourth. Somebody in here probably knows they make 7 or 8 threes in the fourth quarter. Nine. So, that's, I think it has everything to do with the three-point shot. It's, you didn't see these kind of swings even a decade ago because you didn't have teams that could make threes from every position and, teams that, could string together a number of threes like most teams can these days. So I think that's probably the answer.
Question on the left.
Steve, Om Young with ESPN. We were talking pregame about how you guys aren't in this position very often, losing game one. How would you describe what the team is feeling right now?
Well, obviously, everybody's down. You want to go out and win the first one, and we had every opportunity. 12-point lead going into the fourth. So guys are bummed, as you would expect, but it's a 7-game series for a reason. I think you give Boston credit. They came in there and earned the win, played a great fourth quarter. We'll come in, watch the film tomorrow and see where we can get better. And, it's one game, so you move on to the next one.
Howard, back right.
Howard Beck, Sports Illustrated. Steve, just picking up on Ohm's question, the record in game ones prior to this meant you guys were always in control early. How does it change things, do you think, whether it's game plan, attitude, mentality, whatever, playing from behind in a series like this in a way that you haven't before?
Well, it's different for sure. I mean, when you win game one at home, there's a sense of comfort and you kind of have a feel for your opponent at that point and make your adjustments and so it's a different feeling. Obviously, you go into game two with more of a sense of desperation, but that's all part of this stuff. We've been in this position before, and we've won series where we've lost the first game. We've won a road game, at least one road game, and I don't know how many consecutive series. So you always kind of assume you're going to have to win on the road to win a playoff series. So it's a different feeling, but it's still first 1 to 4.
On the left.
Monty Poole, NBC Sports Bay Area. Steve, you guys won the third quarter by 14. What are the things you want to take from that quarter? Obviously, you couldn't take into the fourth tonight, but what are the things you want to take from that quarter and move into the future games?
Yeah, I thought the third was great for us. We moved the ball. We got offensive rebounds. We shared it. We got some really good looks against their defense. Because we were the aggressor, we kind of tied the game together. Good defense led to good offense and vice versa. And then in the fourth, that flipped. I thought we had some poor offensive possessions, and that led to some transition hoops for them, and that changed the game.
Any final questions for Coach Kerr? Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
Recording stopped.
Team.
Well, what we've gotten lately from Steph and what we've grown accustomed to Steph is gravity, right?
Yep.
And in addition to your point about the Celtics coming in, maybe a little bit more worn down, the offense that came early, as you saw in those clips, was all off ball screens, and one time Horford backed up in the paint in transition. It was all off the dribble. We got no slips when Steph was running off screens. We didn't get Steph running side to side. Draymond was hunting a little bit early on, trying to get that ball moving when he was left open to be a facilitator, whether it was Klay, whether it was Steph. But it was a little bit of a fool's gold if you're from a coach's standpoint, you're watching that film. I'm thinking that they're going to be in there watching that first quarter, those 21 points from Steph, and saying, look, this is all great, but we also have to combine that with making the Boston Celtics work on defense. This is a number one defensive rated team in the league.
They showed it in the fourth.
If you don't push pace and you don't get gravity from Steph, get slips, get layups, get open cuts. It happened one time. Remember one time it happened when they came together. Yeah. They both went with Poole and Steph got open. That's the only time I can recall out of those early 6 threes that the gravity happened. They need a lot more of that in the second game to really have some type of success on top of what's going to happen when Steph has the ball in his hands to start out.
Well, you see Tatum right there is smiling. He's really celebrating. There's not that many Celtics fans out here, to be quite honest. I mean, as you would expect, it's pretty much all Warriors. But The Celtic fans are certainly a lot happier tonight.
Yes, they are.
Klay Thompson, I thought you mentioned he was hunting shots, and it felt like he had found his rhythm, but then really nobody was making anything late.
Well, I think that's an offshoot of again, Steph. I think Steph and Klay kind of work like pistons, one off the other when the offense is really clicking, when it's in transition. Again, there you see Steph passing it to Klay in transition. Klay is the epitome of feeding off of Draymond and off of Steph. And when the three of them are working together, very rarely do we have this type of outcome. He probably could have been the one guy that could have bailed him out of this had he gotten hot later on, but they just never got themselves in a rhythm, and they weren't getting stops. Right. You have to get stops to be able to push some sort of pace. It's very, very difficult at any level to get any type of transition when the ball's going in the basket all the time on your defensive end. So a little bit of give and take there, but you know, the stops will lead to that transition, will lead to the outburst, and we all kind of thought it was coming when it got up 13-14. I felt they had to get it to 20 when you asked me. I'm like, what do you think? Well, don't have that feel when it was 13. They just never really got in that flow where they can get the stop, get out in transition. It's clear that was a key early on because Draymond, you could see off his rebound, was really trying to push the pace. I know they talked about trying to push pace and not let the Celtics get set up in defense. It's going to be a big adjustment to try to establish that early on and maintain that in Game 2 because obviously the last thing you want to have happen is another repeat of this in Game 2 and go out to Boston empty-handed.
Well, I want to ask you about that. What level of concern should there be? Because coming in, if you're trying to stop the Celtics, there's basically three guys. Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart. Now
there's five.
Now there's Al Horford and Derek White. Kerry, the job just got so much more difficult in the last 20 seconds. I'll tell you. And, you know, I'm looking at a box score here. He only had 12 points, but he had the 13 assists. I keep refreshing my page thinking that can't be right. It can't be he only had 12. He was under control, but he was also dishing the ball. And I thought the Warriors were a step late on rotations, Donald.
Right. You know, the thing about him, they did a very good job on Jayson Tatum. And I think, like, what ended up happening is that they did such a good job that they forgot everybody else, right? Because part of the thing is that it takes so much attention. Everybody has to pay attention to Jayson. So now you have other guys coming in that you may not think as threatening, but they're just as deadly in a team where you're giving them a lot more room and a lot more space.
And let's give some credit where credit is due. His sidekick stepped up in the fourth quarter. I mean, Jaylen Brown really picked up the pace and picked up the slack that Jayson Tatum laid down. I mean, those are the two best guys that they have. Those are the Batman and Robin, if you will. And Robin certainly stepped up tonight in Batman's absence. It doesn't bode well if Derek White and Al Horford show up again like that in Game 2 because you don't think those three guys will have that type of output again in Game 2. Confidence now is on their side. And for a team that's in the playoffs and the NBA Finals for the first time, the last thing you wanted to do if you're the Warriors is give them any sort of confidence. Now they're coming into Game 2, really with free. It's house money for them. They've done what they had to do. They won one of the games on the road. So now they're coming in and letting it fly early on. And Lord knows what's going to happen if those shots are going in early as opposed to late like they did tonight.
I was hoping you were going to say something to make me feel better. That did not
Just
happen.
try to keep it real, Larry. Just try to keep it real.
Thanks. So let's talk Jaylen Brown because the former Cal star, he scored 24 points, but he needed 23 shots to do it. So he wasn't really efficient, but I'll tell you what, he has mastered that mid-range shot, and he's so physical. He's so strong. I mean, he gets up here to reject Kevon Looney.
Same possession.
He'll also throw it down with authority.
I mean, what is awesome about the way he approached the game is that he knew coming into the fourth quarter he needed to be more aggressive. He knew he wasn't playing as well. And you see him willed himself, taking the ball to the basket, taking the hit, and then playing defense. He was doing it on both ends of the floor. Yeah. So, you know, when you're coming in, if nothing else, we have to win the battles of will. And I think tonight they won the battle of wills, especially in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, Jaylen was terrific. You got what you needed out of Tatum, and then, you know, the shocking Derek White, 3 after 3, and Horford. Horford's known for making threes, so it's not quite a shock. But Derek White, you know, they got him in a midseason trade from the Spurs, and I don't think this is what they anticipated, but that's what they got. All right, it's time for our Coach's Playbook, which is sponsored by Future, the official fitness coaching sponsor of the Warriors. The future of health and wellness is having your own personal fitness coach. Or a guy that can just knock down threes, Kerr. Just find a guy like that somewhere in the fourth quarter.
We were talking pregame about X factors, and I kind of went in thinking that it would be someone not so obvious, and I really thought Kevon would be that X factor tonight. And as we were watching the game, a lot of the things that were happening when it wasn't happening out of the offense was off this. He's done such a tremendous job of figuring out how to offensively rebound and immediately find the very next play. Sign of maturity. We talked about this a little bit, Donald, in the Western Conference Finals, but just understanding like a little bit of the angles and the space and the time that's going to be needed. And look at this. Right away, just, Klay's going to come to you, not getting rattled by that, figuring it out, putting your body on the line right now, getting Klay a shot. I think he had 5 assists, and maybe 3 or 4 of them were off of rebounds. He's figured this out. And this is something that we're going to need, obviously, if shots aren't falling, especially if only one guy's making them. I think this is something that's sustainable over the course of the series. And again, figuring out offensive rebounds. Like you said, Larry, they're going to play a little bit of a chess match with him and Williams and try to go match up in terms of the Celtics. But you see what he's doing here and keeping possessions alive when they aren't going in. What you want to see that have happen, though, is not off first side shots or one shot, is off second, third, fourth side movements when the ball's going side to side, side to side. And that's really where it can become a dagger, that if a shot doesn't go in and he offensively rebounds the ball, gets it back to the right person for a three, that's the best time to shoot a three, transition and offensive rebound. We didn't get transition tonight. We did get a little bit of Kevon Looney, so hopefully we can sustain that moving forward in the game too.
Well, people were talking about him as Kevon Olajuwon after he had the 22 rebound game against Dallas. But what am I looking at here? 4 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. So just not enough from any of the Warriors as we continue on Toyota after the game. It's a 12-point Celtics victory in Game 1. When we come back, we'll hear from the head coach, Steve Kerr. I'm fascinated to hear what he has to say after this. I really am. When we come back.
Al Horford and Derek White combined for 15 of them. So those guys are good shooters, but they combined for what, 15 out of 8. We're smart. 7, 8, 15 for 23. My math right? 8, 7, and 8. 8, 7, and 8. Yeah, that's 23, right? Yeah. 15 for 23 from those guys. Yeah, so be fine.
Tim on the right.
Draymond, you've mentioned a couple times now that it's you played pretty good. You've not been down in a series though in these playoffs. Is it a little hit to the confidence? Is it a little bit like, wait a minute, this is a little different here?
No, it's fun. You get a chance to do something else, do it in a different way, embrace the challenge. And, you know, we've always embraced challenges. This is no different. We'll embrace this one. So, no, it's not a hit to the confidence at all. Not one bit.
Question in the middle.
Robert Littell, BSO. Being your sixth finals, and this is a game one, speaking of that confidence, is that what kind of leads it to, you know, you being very relaxed? It's a long series. You're not too worried about that. And then your shooting, is that just something like you figure it was just a fluke game and won't happen again going forward?
I mean, whether you win every game at home, you still want to win one on the road. In our history, we've always won one on the road. So, you know, it's just nothing to panic about. You know, it's the first team to win 4 games, not the first to win 1. So I think that's where the confidence comes from, is just understanding that. And as far as the shooting, are you talking about me personally or us as a team? Oh, yeah. I mean, I missed some bunnies. My threes felt good. So, you know, I'll continue to stay aggressive. They'll fall. But, you know, tonight they didn't.
On the left.
CJ Holmes, San Francisco Chronicle. What kind of lift did having Otto and Andre back on the court provide?
It was huge. You know, and they both gave us great minutes. You know, and now it's on me to play better. But, you know, to have those guys back, Otto played really well. He shot the ball really well. Andre played well also in the minutes that he had. You know, so they did their part. I just have to do mine.
Monty on the left.
In the fourth quarter, they looked to have more energy. How much of that was just making shots, and how much of that was the early turnovers that they got from you guys? Yeah, I think when you're making shots, that's a boost, and when you're missing shots, it's a Debbie Downer, and that's kind of what it was. They made them, we missed them, and you know, sometimes you can allow missed shots to drag your defense down. I think a little bit of that happened in the fourth quarter as well. So, yeah, you got to give them credit. They made the shots when they needed to make them.
Sports, does a game like this speak to maybe the margin of error that you guys don't have compared to the last 2 series that you were in?
I don't think in any NBA Finals you're going to have a margin of error, and that's what this team has to understand. You know, when you get to this point in the season, this level, there is no margin for error. It's 2 great teams, and the team that makes the less mistakes are going to win the game, and they did that. So, yeah, I mean, they had 21 points off our 14 turnovers. We had 10 off their 13. So, yeah, there is no margin of error for either team. Nah, I didn't see a lack of focus. You don't get up 15 points with a lack of focus. So they're a great team. They made a run, and we didn't stop the bleeding soon enough. You know, they kept hitting shots.
Final question from Al in the back.
Al Sarasovic, San Francisco Examiner. A lot was made out of the Celtics defense coming into the series. Draymond, as a defensive specialist expert, what was your take on how they played on that side of the ball? And what kind of problems did they present for the Warriors?
They got a good defense. We knew that coming in. There was no surprises. We know what they want to get to on the defensive side and how they like to play. They know what we're trying to get to. So, yeah, no surprises. They are who we thought they were. And, you know, now we'll watch the clips, watch the film, and figure out what we need to do to attack it.
Thanks, Draymond.
Recording stopped.
The old, crutch comes back, turning the ball over when they're trying too hard. So there was no flow to get that going to where those turnovers were naturally happening, or even if they were turnovers of aggression. That's what you want. You want a turnover of aggression and maybe even a dead ball one, but no live ball ones. And to have 14 points off 21 turnovers in the last, 23 minutes or so, after only 2 in the first 17, a big part of why we had the outcome tonight.
All right, let's bring in Dr. Pondia here from UCSF. Before we get to the players, he's freezing cold. Do you have a prescription that you can give him right now? Do you have something? Because what do we got here? We got like an hour to go. Donald, look, here's the only thing you need to tell everybody. This is the curse of 4% body fat. This guy's in such great shape. He's no more
I'm a Caribbean man, Larry.
He's got an island guy.
I'm Caribbean.
Yes.
I can't take the cold.
To be honest, we have overcoats here, but Kerry doesn't have one, and the Doc doesn't have one. So it's solidarity. We're just going to freeze together. All right, Doc. We saw Andre Iguodala come back. We weren't sure whether he was going to be able to play at all in this series because he's missed so much time. He played a few games in the Denver series, but he had a neck issue, and I was told by a source that he had some reverberating pain going down into the shoulder and arm. So what's going on there from your perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. With anytime a player has this kind of injury, you worry about, are those symptoms going to come back? Are you going to have pain? Are you going to have weakness? And it can be very difficult to get in a game where there's a lot of impact. The positive things, he was moving very well, and he looked explosive. Anytime a player has to take that much time off from playing basketball, you're worried about their conditioning. Andre looked great. He looked explosive and didn't seem to be hindered at all. And that three-point shot really showed that any weakness that he was having in that arm wasn't there at all.
He's incredible. I mean, he had 7 points. He played limited minutes. He played 12 minutes. But he had 3 assists. He just knows. He's so smart. And when he rose up for the three, I'm thinking, really? Splash. And I was just like, you know what? To use an Al Michaels line, nobody knows anything. Nobody knows. Except Biggie the dog. Biggie the dog knows. So, obviously, we didn't see any re-injury. You'd expect that he would be fine going forward.
Absolutely. I think the key for him is going to be how does his body respond tomorrow after that period of time of not playing. Hopefully he won't have any soreness. Everything else will check out fine for him.
I thought Otto Porter Jr. looked very good as well. He missed a couple of games in the previous series with Dallas with a sore foot. We don't know the extent of the injury because, nobody's being honest at this stage. but Otto was good. I was surprised at how good he looked.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with him, he has a history of foot injuries, clearly dealing with soreness the past couple weeks. He looked great. He looked explosive, was moving very well. So the concern of him having something recur didn't seem to be an issue tonight. He looked great.
He had 12 points on 4 of 5 shooting. And, if he was injured in any way, it wasn't obvious. The one guy we did not see was Gary Payton II. And all week long, he's been saying, I have a couple of more boxes to check. A couple of more boxes to check. That's code for something, but it clearly is code for my broken elbow isn't fully healed yet. He's just not telling us how close he is to getting back on the court.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, typically with these kind of breaks in general, they're going to take 6 to 8 weeks, but around 4 weeks, you have enough healing where you can make an attempt to get back on the court. The key with him is only really scrimmaged once or twice. So is there pain? Is there swelling? There may have been some residual symptoms. Hopefully we'll see him in game 2.
What's your biggest concern with an injury like that? I guess re-injury if you were to fall down again.
Yeah, I think the number one is re-injury. Is he going to play less aggressively because he's worried about falling, number one? And number two, is he going to have any soreness when he's doing offensive type things? Is it going to affect his three-point shot, particularly with motion and pin strength?
All right, what were you going to?
Yeah, I was curious because much like past injuries where we've seen guys come back and then be out after, what's the risk of potential injuries on shooting arms or parts of your body that are involved in shooting when after you sustain an injury and then come back in? So in the case of GP, he got hurt and want to keep him in the game, he's got to shoot the free throw. Obviously hurt his left elbow. I wonder if the NBA should consider changing that rule given the physical nature that is now evolved in this game of guys potentially further damaging anything that could already be damaged after potential injury when they know they have to attend to it. Is that ever kind of floated into your mind when you see guys sustain an injury and then have to go back out, and either play a possession or wait till the clock stops so that they can potentially stay in the game, but by that point they know they're coming out?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's something they definitely need to change. I mean, we saw it when Klay, 2
Sure.
years ago.
Well, I didn't want to say that. Larry gets mad at me for being a revisionist historian on the negative side, so I'll put that on Doc since he's not a regular just yet. But yeah, absolutely. The example I was bringing up because that was an extreme one where he came back in.
We got to go hit the podium right now.
Good for you. And then what happened?
I think we had some costly turnovers. I mean, I missed a couple great looks, and then they got some great looks from three. That kind of blew the lid open for them. And you go 51% on 41 shots from the perimeter. It's hard to beat a team that way.
Mark up front.
Clay, Mark with DNMV.com. Moving forward, what do you think it's going to take to withstand when they go on those runs?
Just trusting each other on both sides of the ball. I missed some rotations. We just got to be better as far as being on a string together and moving and hitting the open man. It was a tough loss, especially the way we did lose, squandering a 15-point lead. Very, very rare for us. So it's not the end of the world, and we'll regroup tomorrow, and we'll bring a much better effort on Sunday.
Anthony?
Yeah, without looking at the tape, obviously, I mean, do you feel comfortable with the threes you gave up, to who you gave them up to, or did you feel like, there was a lot of defensive breakdowns within that?
No, because they were great looks for them. But when you, as a shooter, when you hit a couple open shots and when the guy's in your face, it doesn't, you got the rhythm going. So it's easier to make those. So we just got to take out those guys who were very effective from the perimeter tonight going forward.
Kerr?
Klay, when you start the finals with a deficit, what's the value of having so many veterans in the locker room who have been on this stage before to help usher you guys through this moment?
Well, it's first to four, not first to one, and we all have been through situations like this, and we realize that it's going to be very hard. And it's the best part about it is, we have another opportunity Sunday.
Question on the right.
Draymond talks about not pushing the panic button after a game like this. You guys were in control for most of the game until the fourth quarter. Just what is the general attitude of the team after a meltdown kind of like that?
Well, it's never fun and it hurts on the biggest stage, obviously. But like Draymond said, there's no reason to panic. I mean, I like our chances still, and we'll go home and we'll digest what happened, and I know we'll be better game 2.
Home on the left.
Klay, almost like ESPN. What do you remember specifically? You guys have only been in this situation 2 times before. What do you remember how you guys responded after losing a game 1?
I remember just putting it past us. There's no reason to hold on to a loss when you have another game so soon. And I remember watching film and realizing there's many things we can do better and applying those strategies. So it's pretty simple, and I just know we'll be better game 2. I'll be better.
Tim on the right.
Klay, when Kerr took you guys all out at the end, he kind of went down the row and gave each one of you a hand, fist bump and kind of a half hug, and I think you were involved in that. What was the message communicated there?
Just Steve knows how hard it is. I mean, he's been through this, his career and coaching career, and we stick together through the thick and thin, wins and losses. We're not going to splinter because we didn't play like we wanted to. We're just going to continue to play as hard as we can, and I just know if we do that, we'll be better.
Over to Monty with the last question.
NBC Sports Bay Area, Monty Poole. Klay, they seem to have more pep in the fourth quarter. How much of that was because they were making shots and getting turnovers, and how much of that was just something else going on?
That was definitely because we were turning it over and they were getting good looks. I mean, ask any basketball player, when you get great looks from 3, everything else feels easy. So it's on us to be better Sunday and play with more force on the defensive end and not let them get so comfortable.
Thanks, Klay.
Sweet.
Recording stopped.
Oh, hold on. I'm about to go on. Sorry. Can you just Good evening. I'm Karina Nova, live in the ABC7 newsroom. You are watching after the game with our sports team, Larry Beal, Kerry Keating, and O'Donnell Foyle. But we are also hearing from some of the players right now, talking about the first game of the NBA Finals, a tough loss to the Celtics, 108 to 120. So you've been hearing from some of the players there talking about this, along with Coach Steve Kerr giving a lot of information. So we are going to continue our coverage for you here from ABC 7. After the game is going to be on until 10 p.m. We're going to have all the details for you of what happened, what needs to happen in the future, and everything else you need to know about the NBA Finals. We're also going to be taking another look at the press conference happening there from Chase Center with the players. We still haven't heard from Curry, so that's the one player we still want to hear from, talking about their loss again to the Boston Celtics, 108 to 120. We're going to bring you back to that programming from our sports team, ATG, after the game in just a moment, so stick around for that.
For a hot cup of coffee or chocolate right now, hot chocolate, and you're pretty much anything, right? You'll give anything right now. It's actually not that cold, but it's a little.
He'll give you his crypto wallet. That's not worth much anymore nowadays.
Well, no, yeah, that's a zero. we might get
a couple drops.
Yeah, we'll get that much coffee for that.
Exactly.
Let's get to Foyle's focus here, because I'm curious, as usually focused on the big guys, but...
Right. Yeah, so tonight, Larry, as a big man, I get very offended when everybody keeps shooting threes, but I have to say, I really enjoyed the first half of this game. There were 20 combined threes tonight, Larry, and I'm telling you, if I come back, as an NBA player, I'm coming back maybe as Al Horford, a big man with a smooth, silky touch, and maybe Steph fade away. What do you think?
I would love to see that. Let's see.
Man.
We had 20.
You got a long way to go when you come back.
I was starting tomorrow. I wasn't ready to start shooting threes tonight, guys. You don't have to put the big zero up there.
But we should finish it off statistically. For how many? How many shots did you?
At least 3, I think, right?
Oh, so very small sample size.
Very small sample size.
Because like back in the day, when somebody would shoot a 3, like a big, and Don Nelson would say,
get to the bench.
Come,
hit that horn.
I got a seat for you right here, right next to me. So we're going to blame Nelly.
There you go.
He's on Maui. He's not watching, so it's Nelly's fault. All right, more to come on Toyota after the game. We'll see. We'll see if we can make a call.
The guys who we wanted to shoot with, they just made shots today.
Question on the right.
With the fourth quarter, or on the side, with the fourth quarter specifically, obviously they were making shots. You guys weren't. I think you guys had like a 5-minute scoring drought in there. During that time, did you ever feel like there was like maybe a loss of focus, or maybe like you guys might have gotten to your heads a little bit?
No, I wouldn't say it was a loss of focus. I think they just had us on our heels. They kind of, their defense kind of had us stagnant. They was able to push it in transition. They was able to get to the paint and kick it out. And I think for the most of the game, we was the one that was the aggressors. We was able to play with force. And I think in the fourth quarter, had us on his heels, had us backpedaling, and had us scrambling in our rotations. And they're a really good team. They made shots, and just a battle of will. And I think they won it in the fourth quarter.
Come on, Vince Goodwill, Yahoo Sports. And usually in first quarters in these playoffs, if Steph goes off, you guys can pretty much cruise to a win. Were you at all surprised by Boston's resilience? Because they were in it after the first quarter. You guys ran away from them in the third quarter, and they came back in the fourth.
No, I wouldn't say I was surprised. We've been watching the playoffs all year. You kind of know that's kind of their team. They get punching them out, but they always stay around. They always make runs, and they might even lose a game, and you might think the series might have changed. They come back and kind of win. So they don't really
they don't get down on themselves. They always keep fighting and keep playing their style of basketball. And so we weren't surprised. You know, it's the finals. It's going to be hard. You know, none of these games going to be easy. It's going to be a hard fight to the battle each game. So we weren't surprised. You know, it was good to see Steph get off to a good start. He kind of set the tone for the series and set the tone for our offense for the whole game. And I think we did a good job on the offensive end for the most part. We just got to finish better.
Mark?
Hey, Kevon, markmcdnba.com. When you guys have lost playoff games this year and during the title runs, what's the process of what you guys do in between games to course correct, and how can that apply for this upcoming game?
Just watching a lot of film and kind of see where we went wrong at, seeing how we can make some adjustments, how to keep them guys, off the three-point line. How to keep guys going middle and getting to the paint, different things that we kind of talked about before the series started. But now that we got a good feeling, our first time playing against them, so we got a good feel for what they do, the force that they're going to play with. We just go out there and make some adjustments.
Any final questions? Thanks, come on.
Recording stopped.
Questions for Andrew?
Recording in progress.
Go to CJ on the left.
Andrew, what kind of changed with the way Jaylen Brown was attacking you guys late in the game? It seems like he started to get going a little bit as the game matured.
He got going. He kind of fueled that late run they had.
Anything else? Anthony?
They hit 21 threes. I mean, how much of that? I know game plan wise, you were willing to give up threes at times, but how much of that did you feel like was defensive errors?
Some of it was, but they hit some tough shots too. Some tough shots when it mattered. It's hard to be a team when they hit 21 threes.
Question in the back here.
Andrew, Steph got going, and then they adjusted their defense. How do you think the other guys handled, the attack and going at the Boston defense, like yourself and Jordan Poole, et cetera?
Just looking for your right spots, staying aggressive. But they're a good defensive team, but we're a good offensive team too. We have a lot of weapons. We just got to utilize them. We'll be good.
Anything else for Andrew? Thank you.
Recording stopped.
He was aggressive. He had 20 points in the first half when we were thinking about, all right, who's joining the Curry party? It was him. I have an admission to make, by the way.
Oh, come on.
What you got going?
I thought we were waiting on
Go ahead. Put them on.
We were waiting for the coffee.
They're yours. If you want. I would love, we could do a whole segment on you trying to put those gloves on. Be hilarious.
They're all very stoic up on the podium. Klay, Draymond.
Well, come on. I mean, I think they're shocked.
But I wouldn't say it was shocked. I think they're keeping their focus and they understand what they have to do. I think they know they squandered an opportunity, not just because it was a home game, but because through all the things that were and were not going well from a basketball standpoint, they were still up by 15, and that's not something that's typical of a team like this, especially with the experience that they had versus the inexperience, I should say, of the Celtics as far as finals games go. Give Wiggins credit, though, for defending Jayson Tatum. I remember watching the first couple possessions thinking, my moment might be too big for him. A couple air balls, a couple shots are way off. I mean, Andrew did a good job keeping it in front. This is something that you're going to have a lot of self-examination coming from this film. Right. I'm sure we've been in some film sessions before like miserable. That. And I'm really, really anxious to see the adjustments that are made both sides of the ball, the offense and defense, by the Warriors right out of the gate in the first quarter.
Jordan Poole really struggled tonight. Draymond really struggled tonight. I'm sure that will be reflected in the film session. Right. We were watching. To me, Jordan, he had sped himself up so much that he just couldn't get comfortable. And sometimes that happens in the finals. And, we talked about young players. Right. You've never been on this stage before, and you get out there, and you want to go. And you got to take the ball with you.
Right.
So I thought, I think he'll be much better in Game 2.
I think there's no question about it. I mean, this stage is huge. We've seen the progression of Jordan over the course of the year. And the one thing is that he has always been growing. And this is that platform. You can't teach anybody what it means to come into an arena and play for an NBA Finals championship. You just can't teach that. You have to experience it. You have to go in there, get the butterflies, try to figure out how to get yourself to slow down and play within yourself. And I think that takes time. I think the next game you will see him play a lot better. At least he'll be more present in terms of not allowing the game to get ahead of him.
Oh, it's also kind of credit to him that it shows that the team actually needs him. They do have the reliability of the big three, if you will, in Draymond, Klay, and Steph. But they've established that on this team that he's a big part of that. We talked about him coming off the bench and that the Boston bench may not have an answer. Well, Derek White was a big answer, and then some tonight. Really, probably the biggest difference in the game was Tatum versus White when you just go head to head in that sense, obviously from a point differential, but just in the way they played the game within their own team concept. Derek White clearly had a better game than Jordan Poole. That's something that the Warriors are going to need and have come to rely on now, for their success.
Yeah, it was shocking, actually, how good Derek White was. I don't think that was high up on the Warriors scouting report. We'll hear from Steve Kerr in just a little bit. We are efforting Chris Alvarez. Chris was hoping to do some interviews with victorious Warriors, and instead, what do we got? It's all you.
Well, a couple of those shots were just wide open threes, and I'm going to shoot it to see if it goes in. And that's typical for Draymond. And oftentimes he'll make one or two of them. It's a good boost.
Can I mention one thing right there?
That should never happen.
No. I have an echo of a coach in my head saying, "There's a reason you're okay."
Oh, you said it, not me.
It's in my head. It's in my head, though. It's in my head.
It happens on this staff quite a bit.
Yeah, but anyway, continue, because I thought Chris had a good point.
I mean, look, numbers can be deceiving, but not when they're shooting numbers like that. And when layups are the case. And there was a little bit of a turn that you felt, Draymond's emotions and Mark Davis. Could have brought that out a little bit. It was a couple of possessions.
Get me started.
You just want Draymond to keep his focus because, again, not so much on the offensive end, Chris, because you don't really rely on Draymond to score. If he scores, it's almost a bonus because he's going to rebound. He's going to run offense. He's going to get the assists, especially when Steph and Klay are going, and to that matter, even Jordan Poole. It's the defensive prowess that you really want to judge Draymond on because that's where his bread is buttered. That's what the Warriors really depend on him is to be that catalyst on the defensive end. He never quite have gotten a defensive flow to get the Warriors set, and clearly it was a big factor because the fourth quarter, the floodgates just opened, and they never really pressured. They never really felt the Celtics uncomfortable at any point. They weren't hard charging, but they really weren't uncomfortable. They didn't have to really earn a lot. Outside of a few tough shots that Derek White hit, especially with Steph up close on him, Draymond's focus has to start on that defensive end first and foremost. And that's really what I'm not as concerned about his shooting numbers as much as where he's at defensively to help the team.
I thought he kept his composure just fine. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned the officiating. I don't want to do this again. I'm so tired of doing this. And everybody I know that covers these games feels the same way. Just Mark Davis, John Goble, and James Williams. And there was a point in this game, thankfully it didn't turn out to be decisive, where Steph got called on a little chicken wing that Marcus Smart sold really well. And then he was called for a completely invisible foul on Jayson Tatum that gave him 3, and he had to go to the bench. As it turned out, foul trouble was not the biggest concern for the Warriors tonight. It was that fourth quarter where things just fell apart. And let's go back to Chris. I'm hoping Chris has either coffee or hot chocolate.
It is so much. It is. Yeah, it's really, really warm in here. Another thing, I'm just kind of looking at the stats guy. Looking at the stats guys, and Kerry also. Kerry, yeah. I want to get everyone's take on. Yeah. I want to get everyone's take on this because, Kerry, we were sitting watching the game together, and you kind of mentioned that Jayson Tatum looked a little nervous, as you say. 3 of 17 in his NBA Finals debut. Kerry, O'Donnell, Larry, what did you guys think of how they defended him? 3 of 17, 12 points. He did have 13 assists, but Jayson Tatum is one of the Boston's biggest scorer, if not their best scorer, and obviously Al Horford had the big night as well. But what did you think of the defense on Jayson, how they should respond in Game 2 with him?
No, I thought that, the way that we approached the game, I think everybody was paying attention to Tatum tonight. And I think that was in part of the problem. We forgot some of the other guys. I mean, you look sometimes the defensive scheme, everybody was paying attention. They were looking at him, and they were playing really good. And he didn't have anything easy tonight. He made some adjustment and started passing the ball more, giving up the ball because he couldn't really get to the basket and do what he wanted to do. So for me, if you're the Warriors, that's one of the success of tonight. You played exceedingly well and one of the best players in the league. And if you have to do that and now stop some of the other guys that's coming off the bench that can hurt you.
I have some good news for you.
What's that?
Coffee. I look right there.
Yes,
There's coffee.
coffee.
Not only is that coffee, that's a tower of coffee.
Thank goodness for Paula being here. Traffic and weather. It's 54 degrees right now. And it was a lot colder for the Warriors in the fourth quarter, that's for sure.
Yeah, I didn't have Jayson Tatum shooting 17%, the Celtics winning Game 1
Isn't
on
that
the
shocking?
road. So, I mean, it's, clearly a little bit of a concern if you're the Warriors. But I think defensively, they try to get Tatum going early. They had some switches, put Steph in a lot of ball screens. They were trying to establish him early, that's for sure. And to the detriment of the Celtics, it didn't work out. But give credit again to Jayson Tatum for making the adjustment, becoming more a facilitator.
Yeah, he was good, even though he wasn't scoring. Right. Chris, more. You have more questions for us? This is
just some more observations in game one. Yeah. Game 1, Larry. I was looking up a stat, and Steve Kerr 71% win. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say if Tatum. Is held in check, I'm assuming the Warriors are going to win the game. But you were inside the arena. We were getting set up during the disastrous fourth quarter. So I'm putting this on you. But given that this is the first home loss for the Warriors at Chase Center, what was the vibe inside? Because, I mean, we were just like, what's happening? Am I seeing what I'm seeing here?
Well, I'd like to take it behind the curtain, Larry, and this is kind of like reminiscent of the Super Bowl 54 when in the fourth quarter you had to make your way down. We were getting ready to set up near the locker room where we do by our tree, the usual interview spot. And so I'm watching actually with like NBA PR people, and we're kind of looking like, what just happened in this game? It just flipped seemingly on a dime. It went from the 8-minute mark, and then all of a sudden our photographer Abe came over and goes, the score kind of got out of control. So Boston was literally hitting every shot. They splashed, and so I can only imagine the moans and groans in the arena. I was in the press room, and it wasn't a good feeling there. I want to ask you guys, because I saw a stat about Game 1, 70%, 71% or so of Game 1 winners in the NBA Finals go on to win. So Kerry, O'Donnell, Larry, they didn't win Game 1. How crucial, you can't go down 2-0 to Boston. I mean, that goes without saying, but the pressure of Game 2 now is all of a sudden ratcheted up on the Warriors, I would imagine.
I actually obviously you want to see a Warriors win. I like it when they're under pressure because I think they rise to the occasion when they have to. So I would be shocked if they did not come out with a better effort in Game 2. All right. Our producer really, really wants us to get to a break. So let's do that. 120-108 Celtics. Chris, thank you. We'll see you on ABC 7 News special edition at 10:30 as we continue with
Coffee
is here. Donald's. This is the biggest smile I've seen on him all day long. Be right
back. All right, I'm Karina Nova live in the ABC 7 newsroom right now, and you are watching After the game, after a tough game for the Warriors, we have O'Donnell Foyle, former Warrior, Kerry Keating, NBA scout, and of course, Larry Beal, our ABC 7 news anchor, bringing you the very latest from tonight's game against the Celtics. They are there. They're giving you all the coverage for this game. They'll be there for you after every single game of the NBA Finals here on ABC 7. We're going to bring you back here in just a few minutes to coverage of after the game. Also, we're still waiting for Steph Curry to talk in the press conference today. We heard from Steve Kerr, the head coach, about today's loss. We heard from some of the players, but now we are still waiting for the star of the game, Steph Curry, to talk about what happened today and today's loss for the Warriors against the Celtics. So we'll bring that to you as it comes in live. But for right now, we're going to give you a short break, but we're going to bring it back to after the game in just a minute. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Thrive City. Still a few of the diehards left after a 120-108 Warriors loss to the Celtics. We've got coffee now. I could do 2-3 more hours of this.
Yeah,
We're ready. We're good. Let's listen. Steve Kerr does not want to do 2 or 3 more hours.
No.
I can guarantee you that. We heard from Steve at the podium. Show me your hand.
That's actually
Yeah, the Warriors were outscored 40-16 in the fourth quarter, and that just can't happen. You're not going to win an NBA Finals game like that. I mean, how many times have we seen a team make 3 after 3 after 3 after 3 after 3 in a Finals game? That doesn't happen either. So it's really an anomaly tonight. But one win for the Celtics in the race to 4.
Well, it's a make-or-miss league, Larry.
Oh my goodness!
I couldn't resist.
Oh, okay. I just walked right into it. While I recover from that blocker charge, Jaylen Brown at the podium for the Celtics after their win.
Yep.
It's the media's fault.
It's always the media's fault.
No, I'm glad he made that point because if the casual basketball fan may not know, start of the season, the Celtics were terrible, and a lot of people were saying, Tatum and Brown can't play together. One of them's got to be traded. Yeah. The best deal never made, trading either one of those guys. Warriors lose by a dozen in Game 1 of the Finals. We're waiting on Steph Curry. We got coffee, so we can wait all night, Steph. We ain't going anywhere. O'Donnell says he's locked in.
I'm happy.
Yes.
Ready to go.
All right, so we'll see if we hear from Steph. Either way, we're going to look ahead to Game 2 when we come back on Toyota After the Game.
MVP.
Good evening. I'm Karina Nova live in the ABC 7 newsroom. You're watching ATG After the Game with our sports team here from ABC 7. Do want to let you know that if you've been watching this stream, we haven't been able to show you all the video and all the highlights, unfortunately, because we're on this streaming platform, but you can always tune in live, and we're going to take you back to ATG right now.
And kill some just chit-chat. Well, the crowd is thinning out a bit in 54-degree San Francisco weather. ABC 7 News meteorologist Sandy Patel told me it might be a little brisk. It might be cool and crisp after the game. And, we talked about, Derek White had a great night, Al Horford, and they, knocked down threes, all these things. Oh, promo for Game 2. Let's do that. Sunday. 5 o'clock tip-off, early. 1 hour earlier, which means our pregame show is going to be on at 4, then the network pregame at 4:30, tip-off at 5. And Steph may have that expression when we get to him at the podium, although he's, the Warriors, this is not their first barbecue, so I don't expect anybody to panic, but they do have to change some things schematically. I was trying to get to a joke because I've never seen anybody check their watch more times than you have in the last 2 minutes.
I was just holding up my coffee.
No, you were not. No, you were not. He's like, okay, it's 9:48. I got 12 more minutes. I can do it. Oh, we're not in the Caribbean anymore. Okay, so we made predictions before the game.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my goodness.
This dog, he's taunting me now. Biggie's 1-0 in the finals. He was 1-1 coming in, and we all took the donut.
Yeah.
And Larry, man, this is a rough room. I tell you what, even Biggie is all over me.
The canines are up on you. You're in trouble.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad he's not a Doberman or something like that. I'd be in real trouble. So let's look ahead to Game 2 because. This is not, a lot of times you'll hear coaches, after games say, well, we just got to flush it. You're not flushing the fourth quarter. You got to figure out defensively, because there were not a lot of contested threes in that run in the fourth. It was like dudes wide open all over the place. They knocked him down, give them credit. But you got to get a hand on them. You got to get out there.
Yeah, and I think actually, we knew coming in, we kind of said it, right? We said that, like the Warriors went into Boston and beat them. Boston came in here and beat the Warriors, right? So in a game like that, in the finals, it's going to be, you have to earn it. And you're not going to have to, you're going to earn it by playing all 48 minutes. You're not going to do it by just playing 3 quarters. The Warriors had pretty three great quarters, and they had a bad fourth quarter. So now the adjustment in a way is very easy, because that fourth quarter now has to become, you have to play all the way through, and I think you'll see that.
I remember we used to watch games that were over after 3 quarters in Oracle.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Back in the good old days, a couple of years back,
Yeah.
where the fourth quarter was just like beat the traffic, and their game was over after 3 quarters. So a little bit of an adjustment for us here in Dub Nation to understand what just happened. But I'm just mad I lost my gentleman's sweep. It's going to be hard to win 4 in a row now. This is probably a 6-game series, and clearly not over.
Hold on.
I prefaced that before. I said I want it to be 6 because I wanted to finish it at home, Larry. As much as I want to see Game 6 Klay, I'd rather them clinch at home. So I was rooting for the gentleman's sweep. I didn't say it was, necessarily a lock, a hammer lock, but it's not over yet. Let's leave little faith. It's just 1 game.
Have you ever considered politics? The flip-flopping is just like incredible.
I live in the South now. It's a lot warmer than it is, so sometimes a cold can have an adverse effect on your thought
brain.
process.
On your brain, is that it? The brain is frozen at this point. You got the coffee. Get some more coffee. Donald, at this point, when we go to the guys at the podium, Donald is trying to figure out whether he should drink the coffee or pour it on top of his head. That's what we're down to at this point. You know who got one of the biggest ovations of the night? Barry Bonds was here.
Yep.
And Spike Lee, I think it was Spike Lee. Did we ever get that confirmed?
Is either that or a really good Mars Blackman impersonator?
He had, I thought his outfit was fantastic.
Yeah.
The all white and the hat, and it was great. That was in the pregame. When we all felt we were warm. We were a lot better.
Beautiful outside.
Yeah. So, all right, how surprised are you that the Celtics were able to do this? Because look, they're a really good defensive team. You know about Tatum. You know about Brown. I have not seen them go on this kind of a fourth quarter barrage where just like they're making everything.
And it's hard to do that in 8 minutes at the end of a game.
Yeah.
When for the first 40, you basically don't have a handle on the game on either side. I mean, the Warriors had the game in hand for 40 minutes, so very, very difficult to do, and credit to them. I mean, especially a team that has no finals experience. It's even more so. The level of difficulty is even more so. I don't know if it's sustainable. I mean, I trust that the experience and the ability to bounce back that this team will have, and especially now you know that Iguodala can give you some minutes.
Sure,
and Otto Porter was tremendous. At one point, outside of Steph, was the only guy. He was 3 for 3 from 3, the only guy really hitting shots. You'll see the adjustments, I think, early on, Larry. The question will be answered differently. How do you feel? I'm confident that after the first quarter, even after the first half, just a different feel that they'll be back in tune and a little bit back in sync to not let the fourth quarter seep in like this again.
So let me ask you a question about this. And I almost feel bad, posing it this way, because Gary Payton II, he made the team as the 15th man on the roster. He proved to be way more valuable than that. I don't know if he'll be ready by Sunday. If he is ready, what kind of an impact would he have on a Derek White or a Jaylen Brown, who is bigger, but GP2 has such long arms, he can play against bigger players. So would he make a difference?
I think he will make a difference, and here's how. Because one of the things he has proven all year is not that he plays outside of his comfort zone, right? He started off playing really good defense, and then you saw his offensive game, right? So if you come out in a game like this, I always say come out and do the thing you've been doing all year. Play the most amazing defense that you can, and let the rest of the stuff kind of fall by the wayside, right? The offense will come. Lead with defense. You do that. Steve Kerr sees the reason why he's been playing you all year, and now he's giving you more opportunity to maybe have some offensive opportunity in the game. But play with what you know. Play good defense. Go out and compete. That's all you can do in a stage this big and the lights this bright, and a guy coming in and being at this stage for the first time, just go play defense and just be doggedly with it.
I just hope he's physically capable of being out there, because I know if he's out there, he's going to lock somebody up. What's your take on that? I mean, can he – I have not planned this ahead of time, but could he be the cooler for Derek White?
Well, the hope is that Al Horford's career-high 6 threes don't replicate. Derek White in this building, I don't even think scored prior to tonight. I don't think he had a bucket in the game that they played here earlier in the year. Not counting on him getting 21 points again. I mean, clearly you're not going to pin all your hopes on 2 guys that had career games to not have them again. You got to tip your cat and give credit where credit is due. But anything that's a defensive addition, there's a lot easier transition for a guy like GP2 to come in and make a defensive impact than obviously an offensive impact. So, yes, he can, because he's capable and he's able and he's willing to do that, and he can guard multiple positions on the perimeter. You know, size notwithstanding, he's a guy that can come in and make a little bit of an impact even on a short stint from a defensive standpoint.
And I got to say this. I think the one thing when the Warriors, look at the fourth quarter, the fourth quarter didn't start it by the Celtics hitting a lot of threes, right? They went to the basket. They looked for opportunities in the paint. They collapsed them, right? So when you're looking at that, it'd be easy to focus on the threes that they've made, but you really have to focus on the fact that how they got into the paint, and we need more of like a barrier. You need to protect the paint a little bit more and not let them penetrate that deep into the paint.
But I also thought they were over-helping at times,
right,
and that leads to the wide-open corner threes. So there's a balance that has to be.
So there's a balance, in between there.
Yeah.
They went zone. They tried to protect Steph out of the switches early on. And as soon as they went to zone, they gave up a wide-open layup. Derek White took full advantage of it, split the top, went got a layup, so it kind of killed the whole thrust of maybe the zone will throw this thing off. And that was earlier in the game. Clearly couldn't go to the zone late because the threes are falling. So they made a shot at it early on to see if they can throw some adjustments in. But if a guy like Gary Payton, too, is available from a defensive standpoint, by all means, I think he'll be thrown in the fire a little bit.
So we were hoping that Steph Curry was going to get to the podium and that we would listen to him live. As it turns out, he's still in the locker room, and so hopefully we'll hear from him and have that on ABC 7 News, the special edition coming up at 10:30. So we'll wait on Steph. Really curious to see. Well, no, I mean, I'm not going to sit. I'm not sitting here the whole time to wait. No.
Hey, I'll wait till Sunday if it means we're going to win.
Oh, you're going to be right there?
I'll be right here. If it means we're going to win, I'll be right here.
Mister, I'm changing my prediction in the middle of the show.
Hey, it's still alive.
It's still
alive.
Gentleman's sweep is still alive. Warriors going to win the next 4. I mean, we've seen crazier things happen than that, and they're certainly capable. We know that. Again, Game 2, Warriors-Celtics, Sunday at 5 p.m. We're on at 4 with the pregame, and I hope Mike Breen is healthy. We love Mike. Same with Jeff Van Gundy, out in the COVID protocols, so hopefully they'll be back and healthy. That's what they're playing for. They want that trophy. For Kerry, Donald, Chris, Larry Beal. Jimmy Kimmel Live next.